What do people in the Middle East really think about the United States of America? Is it love? Is it distrust? Or something much deeper, more complicated? It's a question that doesn't have a one-word answer. It's layered, shaped by politics, media, history, religion, and real human experiences. From the crowded streets of Cairo to the deserts of Saudi Arabia, from war-torn Syria to the vibrant skylines of Dubai, the name America evokes emotion. But what kind? Admiration? Suspicion? Inspiration? Or disappointment? This is not a story of hate or praise. It's a story of perception. Raw, real, and rooted in the everyday lives of millions across the Middle East. Welcome to the truth behind the views. This is What Do People in the Middle East Really Think? About the USA? Let's begin with the elephant in the room, politics. America's foreign policy in the Middle East has often shaped public opinion, not always in a favorable way. Ask someone in Baghdad or Damascus. Chances are their thoughts are linked with war. The 2003 invasion of Iraq. The war in Afghanistan. The drone strikes in Yemen. The sanctions on Iran. Too many, these actions left behind scars that haven't fully healed. They don't see America as a liberator. They remember it as a force that brought instability. But that's only part of the picture in other parts of the Middle East. Like Jordan, Egypt, and the Gulf countries, political alliances with the USA are strong. Their people acknowledge America's role in supporting their governments, providing military aid and economic support. They may not agree with everything, but they recognize America's importance on the global stage, a country whose influence cannot be ignored. Despite political differences, something surprising stands tall: respect for American values, freedom, innovation, opportunity. Many young Middle Easterners admire the American dream, the idea that anyone from anywhere can build a life through hard work. Tens of thousands apply for student visas, green cards, and work opportunities each year. They watch American movies. They follow American entrepreneurs. They dream of Silicon Valley, New York City, and Los Angeles. Even critics of U.S. foreign policy sometimes say, "I don't like their politics, but I like their system." There's a deep desire to understand and experience the American way of life, not because it's perfect, because it's dynamic. American culture has penetrated deep into the Middle East, from McDonald's to Marvel, from Netflix to Nike, and while some embrace it, others resist. In more conservative regions, there's a concern that American influence weakens traditional values. Some view the West as too liberal, too open, too fast. They worry about cultural erosion, especially when it comes to faith, family, and modesty. But here's the twist. Even those who criticize the cultural flow from America still consume it. They listen to American music. They use iPhones. They admire Elon Musk. There's a love-hate relationship with the culture, both drawn to it and wary of it. To understand how the Middle East views America, we have to listen, not to governments or headlines, but to the people themselves. Here are voices from across the region: students, shopkeepers, teachers, engineers sharing what they really feel about the USA.
Ahmed, 29, Cairo, Egypt. I grew up watching American movies. Will Smith, Tom Cruise. That's what made me love cinema. But I also remember the news, Iraq, Syria. I don't hate America, but I wish they would stop interfering in our region.
Layla, 22, Beirut, Lebanon. I studied English because I wanted to go to an American university. I believe in freedom of speech and the chance to start from nothing. That's what America represents to me. I just don't like how our countries are often treated like chess pieces.
Hassan, 40, Amman, Jordan. I've worked with American companies. They respect time, process, professionalism. I learned a lot from them. If I had a chance to move to the US, I would take it.
These stories show a truth the headlines miss. Middle Easterners are not one voice. They're millions of voices, thoughtful, diverse, and nuanced. They don't see America in black or white. They see the good and the bad, the inspiration and the contradiction. One of the biggest signs of America's soft power in the Middle East is this. The desire to study in the UDOT's American universities are seen as a gold standard. Every year, tens of thousands of Middle Eastern students apply to schools like Harvard, MIT, Stanford, and public universities across the US. Why? Because they believe in academic freedom. Because American education opens global doors? Because they want to learn from the best and bring that knowledge home? Even in countries where American foreign policy is criticized, parents still encourage their children to learn from America. It's a sign of hope, a belief that ideas can move us forward, even when politics pull us back. Another aspect that earns admiration across the region is America's role in business and innovation. From Google to Apple, Amazon to Tesla, US-based companies have revolutionized the way people live, work, and think. In Saudi Arabia, American firms are major investors and partners in construction, energy, and tech projects. Many startups in the Middle East model themselves after Silicon Valley. Young entrepreneurs in Cairo, Dubai, and Amman don't just follow American trends, they build on them. America is often seen as a beacon of innovation, a place where crazy ideas become billion-dollar companies, and that inspires a whole generation in the Middle East. To truly understand the skepticism many in the Middle East feel toward the US, we have to look at the last few decades and the wars that shaped perception. Iraq, a war that changed everything, the 2003 US invasion of Iraq is often described in the region as a turning point. While the official reason was to eliminate weapons of mass destruction and bring democracy, the aftermath was chaos. Civil war, terrorism, economic collapse. For many Iraqis, the promise of freedom was lost in the reality of bloodshed. Even today, people ask, was it worth it? Who paid the price? This war left a deep scar on how people view US intentions not just in Iraq, but across the Middle East, Afghanistan and beyond, though not an Arab country. The US war in Afghanistan also echoed throughout the region. The Taliban's return after 2 decades made many question, did the US understand the ground reality at all? To some, it felt like another example of short-term strategy over long-term peace. Add to that US drone strikes in Yemen and Pakistan, and the perception grows. America is quick to use force, but slow to understand the aftermath. The criticism isn't always about action, it's about double standards in Palestine. Many people believe the US doesn't act. As a fair broker, they feel Washington favors Israel too strongly, ignoring the suffering of Palestinians. This has caused frustration, even among those who admire America's internal values. As one young man in Gaza put it, America says it believes in human rights, but where are those rights for us? This sense of inconsistency, of saying one thing and doing another, fuels distrust. Despite the pain of past wars, many Middle Easterners do not hold grudges forever. Humanitarian aid from US agencies like USAID has helped rebuild schools, hospitals, and homes. Cultural exchange programs have helped students and artists understand each other better. American embassies now often host events promoting shared values, entrepreneurship, education, and peace. These steps, a small matter, and they show one thing clearly. There is space to rebuild trust. It won't be easy, but it's possible, and many people in the Middle East are open to it. The role of media in shaping perception cannot be overstated. In the Middle East, American media is everywhere: CNN, Netflix, YouTube. But at the same time, regional media often portrays the US in a critical light, especially state-run outlets in countries like Iran or Syria. This creates a duality. A person might admire America for its movies, but distrust it for its policies. Social media, however, is changing this. People now connect directly: Arab TikTok creators in Texas, American vloggers in Egypt, and these real human connections are breaking stereotypes. People are beginning to realize Americans are not their government, and we are not what their news says either. It's a powerful shift, one that can lead to better mutual understanding. While governments may clash, people often connect. And in the Middle East, many distinguish sharply between America, the government, and Americans, the people. We don't hate the people, this phrase is repeated often in conversations. Across the region, we don't hate Americans, we just don't agree with their government. Middle Easterners understand something that often gets lost in media narratives. A country is not its leaders. And Americans on a personal level are often seen as friendly, open-minded, curious about the world, generous in hospitality, tourists from the US who travel to places like Egypt, Jordan, the UAE, or Lebanon often report being welcomed warmly. Even when political tensions are high, there's a saying in Arabic, "Our guests are in our hearts." That's how many Middle Easterners treat Americans they meet. Shared humanity over politics in refugee camps, hospitals, schools, and universities. Countless US-funded programs are run by American volunteers and NGOs. These people leave a lasting impression. For many locals, these individual acts of kindness become a counterbalance to what they see in the news. One Syrian student in Jordan said, "I lost my home to a war that involved America, but I also met an American teacher who helped me finish school that changed how I saw things." It's proof that empathy can rewrite narratives. For many Middle Easterners, America is not just a country, it's a possibility. Immigrants who made it. Millions of Middle Eastern immigrants have found a new life in the US, from Lebanese and Syrians who came in the early 1900s. Iraqi, Afghan, Iranian. In Palestinian families in the 2000s and beyond, many of them have opened successful businesses, sent their children to top schools, built new communities while preserving their heritage. They speak proudly of both identities. I am Arab, and I am American. This dual identity is respected back home. Success stories of cousins or relatives in Texas, Michigan, or California are often shared with pride. Still a destination of choice despite rising visa difficulties and rising global competition, the US remains one of the top destinations. For students, professionals, and families from the region, because it's still seen as a place where hard work pays off, a country with freedom of expression, a home where you can reinvent yourself, even with its flaws. America represents hope. Too many. There's a common message that echoes throughout the Middle East, not just from politicians or analysts, but from regular people. We don't need saviors, we need partners. Over the decades, many in the Middle East have felt that US involvement in the region has been about control, not cooperation. From regime changes to economic pressures, people often describe American policy as a hand that pushes. It's not one that shakes. But the tide is shifting, people across the region are not rejecting the West. They're asking to be respected as equals. What respect looks like, Middle Easterners say, respect comes in many forms. Listening, not just dictating policy. Engaging with local culture, not ignoring it. Building through collaboration, not military action. As one university professor in Morocco put it, if America wants to be admired, it must stop acting like a ruler and start acting like a guest. Respect is powerful. And when it's present, the positive perception of the US rises rapidly. Technology, not tanks. There's also a shift in what people want from America in the 20th century. It was military alliances and oil deals. In the 21st century, people want tech partnerships, startup investment, educational exchange, climate cooperation. America is seen as a technology superpower. That's where its influence is most welcomed now. Not in war zones, but in innovation hubs. People want collaboration and progress, not confrontation in politics. One of the biggest changes in recent years has come from the power of youth and the tools they use to connect. Social media has transformed perception more than any policy ever could. TikTok, Instagram, and Arab American connections. Arab youth scroll through content made by Arab Americans. Hayabis in New York breaking stereotypes, Arab American comedians. Talking about identity, US-based Muslims showing their daily lives. These creators are rewriting narratives. They Show that being American doesn't mean losing your culture. That being Muslim doesn't mean being misunderstood in return. Young Americans are learning about the Middle East beyond the headlines through cooking videos, vlogs, Arabic lessons, and travel channels. This mutual exposure is changing hearts and minds on both sides, from monologue to dialogue where once the West spoke at the Middle East. Now there's a conversation, two-way dialogue built on shared values and shared struggles. And this shift, driven by youth and tech, is doing something diplomacy often fails to do: build trust. So what do people in the Middle East really think about the USA? The truth? It's not black or white. It's not love or hate. It's not one voice. It's millions. A region divided in thought, there are those who criticize the US for its foreign policy, for the wars, the political games, the inconsistencies. They remember the pain of past interventions. They carry the weight of broken promises. But then, there are also those who admire the US for its innovation, its freedoms, its possibilities. They study its systems. They dream of opportunity. They believe in reinvention. And most importantly, they separate the people from the politics. A window of hope, despite everything, the conflicts, the misunderstandings, the scars. There is hope. Hope that bridges can still be built. Hope that respect can replace control. Hope that cultures can connect, not clash. Hope that Americans and Middle Easterners can continue learning from one another, not through governments, but through human connection. Final words to the viewer, to those watching. If you're from the US, know that your image abroad is shaped not just by your leaders, but by you, your words, your presence, your respect. And if you're from the Middle East, your voice matters. Your story matters. You are not a stereotype. You are heard. Music swells softly, fade to black closing. Title on screen: Understanding begins with listening. Peace begins with perspective.